Imagine living in a world where basic human rights are a luxury and far-fetched, where food is scarce and hope is dwindling. This is the reality for thousands of refugees at Dzaleka Refugee Camp. Located in Dowa district, 41 kilometers away from the capital Lilongwe, Dzaleka Refugee Camp was set up in the 1990s. Designed to encamp about 12,000 displaced foreign nationals, the camp, according to statistics by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, has over 50,000 inhabitants. Due to such high numbers, inadequate food, water, and shelter are just a tip of an iceberg. Refugees here face a bigger struggle, the fight for their rights. Meet Innocent Nyonguru, a 24-year-old Burundian who fled his homeland at the tender age of 5. His eyes have seen the unimaginable and his voice trembles as he recounts the struggles of living in a camp where basic human rights are a luxury.
We are facing a lot of challenges. I can give you an example. At first we were being given maize as food assistance, but that assistance was removed and was replaced by cash amounting to 9,000 kwacha, which is given monthly to every refugee. To say the truth, this amount is not enough to cater for basic needs like food that can last a month.
Innocent's story is just one of many. Ngalama Reveriano, a Burundian father of 8, lies in his makeshift shelter, his broken limb a testament to the camp's dire conditions. His 11-year-old child, Belani, speaks on his behalf, her voice laced with desperation. In her narrative, the Standard 6 pupil at Umodzi Katudza Primary School, located inside the camp, says her father cannot work, which makes him unable to provide for his family.
My father is sick. Currently, he's just staying idle. Honestly, we are not happy. It is only my mother who provides for the family through Peace Weeks. We are suffering. It is a challenge for us to have food. I really wished my father was well and had something to do, because it is also a challenge for my mother to find Peace Weeks in the camp.
As we delve deeper into the camp, we meet Devota Iradikunda, a 24-year-old Burundian who has spent 20 years of her life within the walls of Dzaleka. Her story is one of resilience, of a spirit that refuses to be broken.
There is a problem with resource. The resources in the camp are not enough. Currently, we receive 9,200 kwacha, to be specific. This is given to a family to use in a period of a month. And the thing is, this money is not given every month consistently. So this have increased a lot of crimes, stealing, young girls involving themselves in prostitution because they are trying to look for something to eat. And this has also increased teen pregnancy.
And authorities attest to the challenges refugees at Dzaleka camp are facing. According to Hilda Gausiwa, the Senior Administrative and Operations Manager in the Department of Refugees at the Ministry of Homeland Security, the situation is dire. For instance, at a media training which was held in May 2024 in Mangochi District, Gausiwa acknowledged shortfalls in health and education service provision, with water scarcity being a major challenge. Gausiwa noted that each person is allocated 11 liters of water per day against a 20-liter standard. For these are matters bordering on human rights issues. Civil society organizations like the Human Rights Defenders Coalition and the Center for Human Rights Education and Assistance decry what they describe as the government's inaction, citing a lack of respect for basic human rights. Michael Kayatsa, HRDC's vice chairperson, has this to say.
The situation is very pathetic at the moment. Food is a challenge. For a number of years now, institutions like WFP have been reducing their funding towards the procurement of food for refugees. And the government of Malawi hasn't even come close to ensuring that the refugees have adequate access to food. So it's really a pathetic situation where refugees are finding themselves unable to meet their basic needs, which has resulted in a situation where their rights are being violated almost on a daily basis.
And Victor Muhango, Executive Director for the Center for Human Rights Education, Advice and Assistance, concurs.
We are not doing very fine because the camp is congested. The population which is there is not in tandem with what is supposed to accommodate. So we have so many people in Dzaleka and they are scrambling for the same facilities. So we can say that the human rights violations are there because a person cannot be claimed as if they are animals.
To address challenges such as these, Iratkunda, together with Nyonguru, call for a review to laws governing the management of refugees in the country so as to allow the foreign nationals integrate with the local communities.
The encampment policy have left people to be dependent to the donors, which is a burden, which is exhausting for them, I'm sure, because of the donations that are not coming in as they used to. So if people were to given a chance to get involved in economic activities, do something for themselves, it would reduce most of the challenges that people are facing in the camp.
We only ask for economic freedom. We want to have freedom of doing business. We are appealing for policies that would allow us to be employed. We want to work and do business everywhere freely without fear. If our cause are heard and respected, it would be very helpful to us.
And backing this cause is Kayatsa, saying integrating refugees into the local community could not only offer economic freedom to the refugees, but could also be economically beneficial to the country.
Malawi needs to realize that the world is changing. If you look at how countries like Kenya, Uganda, and others, countries that are hosting large numbers of refugees, they have adopted a system that seems to be friendly towards the refugee integration. I think Malawi needs to move towards integration, making sure that instead of just keeping refugees in a camp, refugees should have the right to integrate with society so that Malawi could also benefit.
To his side, Peter Chisi, Director of Political and Civil Rights at the Malawi Human Rights Commission, attributes the situation to the government's delay in adopting the comprehensive refugees response framework, which provides for integrating refugees into the national agenda.
Around 2016, our government committed that it was going to adopt what was known as the Comprehensive Refugee Response Framework, CRF. Under that policy, government committed that they were going to integrate issues of refugees as part of the national agenda. In other words, instead of the encampment policy that we are seeing now, through this integrated process, it meant that refugees would be allowed to integrate into the local community. But what has happened so far is that we have not really moved to work towards that framework.
Despite Malawi being signatory state to the 1951 Convention, which among others provides for the integration of refugees in the local community, little is being done to adhere to the provisions, according to Chisi.
As Malawi Human Rights Commission, our position has been that we want to engage government so that they can withdraw some of the reservations that they made to the 1951 Convention, of which Malawi is a state party. Once we withdraw those reservations, it means some refugees who are qualified and some refugees who are willing to engage in gainful employment as well as other initiatives, they will be allowed to do that.
Weighing in on the discussion is Robert Kandulu, Deputy Director for Law Reform at the Malawi Law Commission, who notes the Commission is reviewing the Refugee Act to domesticate the provisions of the 1951 Convention.
We do have efforts that are undertaken to take care of such issues. The Act was meant to domesticate the 1951 Refugees Convention, which has got comprehensive provision on certain matters, and it was meant to domesticate the OAU Convention of 1969, again, which has provision for specific matters on refugees. So, with the domestication, then the understanding is that implementation of programs relating to refugees would have to take into consideration what is provided for under those two conventions.
As organizations like the Malawi Human Rights Commission advocate for the adoption of a policy of integrating refugees into the country, concerns about potential security hazards have been raised. With such fears is Lakembewe, a social commentator.
Is the government going to do enough to scrutinize these refugees before they come into this country? Because that's where we err. we are just very quick to allow each and every refugee that comes and accommodate them without necessarily checking their track record. And that's what is causing all these problems, because there are others that have got a very bad track record because of their situation in their homes, like a criminal record.
However, Salim Bagas, chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Defence and Security, disagrees with these fears.
Reviewing the laws does not mean that there is no security posture at the time, but we all work under one roof, which is rules to govern country. Now, you cannot have this country have restriction on this one and the other one has within the study. That's what I'm talking about. Security is there.
But what are authorities doing to address the challenges refugees are facing at Dzaleka camp? Erika Maganga, Secretary for Homeland Security, assures that the government is working to address the concerns. In a move to reduce pressure on resources at the camp, Maganga says the government is planning to set up a new refugee camp in Chitipa district.
Government has plans that we should have a new refugee camp in Chitipa, where TA Mwenewenya has provided to government about 444 hectares of land. So our plan as government is to move the camp where we're going to provide all the amenities that they need, health, education, and other facilities that they will need, so that they are comfortable and they are able even to produce, because there will be more land where they can even do agriculture, irrigation, and other activities that are going to improve their lives.
As the sun sets over Dzaleka, the refugees' wait continues. A wait for freedom, for justice, for a chance to rebuild their shattered lives. Until then, their stories will remain a testament to the human spirit's capacity to endure. For MIJ FM News in Blantyre, this is Aubrey Kalumpha.